Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games here, and this time painting the Minions Lesser Warlock, Rorsh, and his Warbeast Brine. 09221 olive skin. So, Rorsh is a Lesser Warlock solo, and part of his point cost includes his best buddy Brine, but Rorsh is a Brigand. He considers himself a mercenary, but any target of opportunity is fair game in his book. Anyway. He is the only pharaoh that uses dynamite, or at least is seen to. One of the few things he likes quite a bit are high explosives, but then again a lot of pharaoh do. And while considering himself a legitimate mercenary, yeah, he's more or less a bandit brigand. He's robbed banks, or tried to anyway. Though he does not exclusively work for the Thornfall Alliance, he does work with them quite a bit. A pharaoh of few words, he tends to talk in gesture, or make his desires known with gesture more than words. And Brine here is a throwback, a more primal and much larger pharaoh. And it is Brine's muscle that has kept the heat off of Rorsh, at least the kind of heat he can't handle. Rorsh can control other feral warbeasts as well, but as I said, Brine is included in part of his points cost, and he's the only unaugmented feral-heavy warbeast in the game. And Rorsh is the only model in the game allowed to control him. If Rorsh is removed from play, Brine goes with him. I'm going to do a little experimenting on the skin tone here. The concept art for them shows kind of a grayish tint to it, so we'll see what happens. Wanted to do a Bacon Brigade for a long time. There's just something I like about the pharaoh that's just fun. And Rorsh did star in a bit of fiction for one of the many leagues. Let's see here where the prize was something to do with a mountain. I think the Rotterhorn was the league, but in the fiction, Carver hires Rorsh and Brine to go inspect the mountain, get a feel for it, and while he's out there he picks up a job from the Scorn, and while on that job he gets taken prisoner by the Protectorate of Menoth and wakes up to the smell of bacon and the pain of burning flesh, and draws two and two together. Wakes up to find that he's being tortured with a hot branding iron. And of course, in the end, with backup from Brine, he basically blows up the Protectorate encampment. But the League fiction tends to be shortened. Don't seem to do as much of that anymore since they dissolved the press gangs, which were sort of pseudo-employees that helped promote the game in exchange for points to spend on exclusive rewards like models, and I'll make a little more of that olive skin. but don't think I've talked too much about the Pharaoh, but again, a subset of minions, and the Thornfall Alliance is Lord Carver, bringer of most mass destruction, Esquire of the Third's army. And Lord Carver, after getting no respect from humans while working as a mercenary, wants to create a Pharaoh empire to make the other nations of the world respect him and his, well, mostly him. To a lesser extent his people, but mostly him. And I mentioned some Pharaoh are primitive throwbacks. Most are human size. But when I say unaugmented, Carver has an alliance with a human mad scientist, Dr. Arcadius, who has been surgically altering Pharaoh, typically by adding warjack parts, so cyborg pigs, basically. That's part of his loincloth. So most of the all the other heavies, not most, all have limbs replaced with machinery. Can't remember at this point if I did the video for my Warhog, but I think that was one of my first ones. One of these days I'm going to have to go through and just throw together some playlists. This is a solid metal kit, so there's that. Let's see here. And I'm going to have to let that dry before moving on, so... Okay, 09002 Deep Red. I think my brain dropped the clutch a few minutes ago. This is just going on the loincloths here. I think I might have missed a patch of Rorsch's flesh. Kind of think I'm not sure why I keep referring to the skin as the flesh, but huh. It's a little tricky in here with the base, but it's okay. Then I'll try to get a bit of Rorsch's mouth on the inside, but he is chomping on a cigar. Yeah, he smokes. Okay. 09143 Yellowbone. Got some tusks, teeth, and hooves. But yeah, for some reason there's quite a few characters in War Machine that are seen smoking. Typically cigars or pipes. That is what it is. I'm not going to make a big stink about that one way or another. And this tusk is actually capped with metal here. I'll probably do a bronze, but again, any paint job you want to do is perfectly valid. Let's see, where'd I put it? Shield Brown 09161. Whoa, get their mains. And Rorsh has sort of cowl over most of his head and neck, so there's just a little bit peeking out between this cap of his and his coat. But for Brine, we got the tip of his tail. And it's just dawned on me that I forgot Rorsh has a beard. Nuts. Alright, so let's get that. And get his cigar in the brown as well. And now Brine's mane. And Brine also has a beard. More of a goatee, but oh, almost forgot Rorsh has a little skull hanging off his belt here. It's a big one to get. I'm going to take a minute and take some more olive skin because I noticed I missed a piece of Rorsh's skin there. Try not to use two identical words in the same sentence if I can help it. Let's get that in there. Then oiled leather 09110. Mostly belts and straps here. Uh-oh. Flying. Make sure I'm in camera. Still trying to figure out a better one. Again, while I may have the money next month, it's still a problem of actually finding one that will suit my needs. Okay. Let's see. I'm really trying not to miss anything else this time before moving on. Let's see. Those look like extra sticks of dynamite to me, so we'll leave that. I will get his cowling here. Oh, I missed an ear. Oh boy. Going a little bonkers today anyway. And now brine. Not much. What? Okay. Just see here. Some straps securing his helmet to his big ol' head. Got a little bit of that on the tusk. We'll just quickly patch that up. Let's see. Then some suspenders here. Now this I'll do in either a bronze or a steel. I'll probably make that decision at the last second. And then there's bindings around his feet. Don't know if you could call them socks or not. Okay. Then Phoenix Red 09005. And that is not mixed well. Try that again. You can see how what's the word I'm looking for? Well, slimy is one good way. But it's better. That's better. Bad mix, good mix. Bad, good. Anyway, as I said, Rorsh likes dynamite. And I'm going with the classic cartoony color. Bright red. Take a little more of that red and do a little more of this cloth here. And let's call that good for now. Okay, up next is 09035 olive green. Boy. Well, let's see if that's enough. Okay. Let's go on Rorsch's coat. It's been a few days since I've been able to work on this. I've been sick with, just sick. But, you know, you're in trouble when you have a cough that sounds like a car with a broken carburetor. trying to get a feel for the way the armor plate on his shoulder here works. Okay, and there's a little armor plate on the hem right here. I'll pick that out later. And this is a little tricky getting underneath because of the undercut, but it's okay. Alright. Then I'll take oiled leather again, 09110, and pick out a few details I just noticed. For example, he's got the butt of his gun wrapped. There's a second little band of leather on his forearm here. I didn't see it earlier, and then he's got the barrel of his pig iron wrapped as well. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to have to let that dry before moving on to the next step. Okay, 09197 old bronze. Okay. Yeah, still recovering from that bug. So I'm getting better, but it's going to be a bit before I'm back to full strength. And I just noticed I somehow managed to miss a huge piece on his coat, so I'll have to fix that. It's okay. It's easy to do. The spikes I'll pick out and steal in a bit. But this is the second to last base coat. And Brine's face is so angular, it's a little tricky to tell what's supposed to be helmet and what's supposed to be covered in flesh. Especially with cheeks that look like blades. Am I in camera? Okay, yeah, I am. Again, I'm still keeping an eye out for a better camera. My current configuration is the only way I can do things with the space I have available. As soon as I can figure out a way to do these in first-person point of view, I will. So that will likely mean I need to find a better camera. Okay. That's just going to leave some steel to do buckles and weapons. So I'll go ahead and let this dry and do some touch-ups while I'm waiting. Alright, last base coat. 09206 Tarnished Steel. Getting the lenses on Rorsch's goggles, then the cylinder and barrel of his rifle. Can't remember if this is supposed to be a pig iron or a carbine or something else. But dynamite alone makes Rorsh better equipped than your typical feral warrior. Actually, so do his lesser warlock abilities. Okay, and then One buckle over here. One over there. He's got some ring mail on his hood. I'll just do in the steel. Get that shoulder spike. And I'll do the fuses as a, that's what I'm looking for, detail. Just notice one more little bit on the armor up front I missed. I'll just take care of that real quick. This looks like some kind of trinket. Okay. Now for brine. Get the chains holding his gauntlets on. And the spike knuckles, you'll notice some of them look like they've broken off. That's not a miscast. It's likely damage from being used to punch stuff with several hundred pounds of porcine muscle behind it. Yes. It says in their fiction when Rorsh is accused of banditry, he often says, "Where are the bodies?" Well, the bodies aren't there because brine eats them. And Pharaoh are not picky by any definition of the word about where their meat originated from. And yeah, they totally do cannibalism too. That's more implied than stated, but they're not too picky about where their meat comes from. The same can be said of the gator men too, as well. Okay, that's base coats. So once that's dried, I'll move on to the shading. Okay, time to start shading. Go ahead and go with Blackened Steel 09205 first. This might be all she wrote for this one. I think I got enough to work with. Again, getting better, but still getting over that bug. And I haven't forgotten about the fuses on Rorsch's dynamite. I'm just going to do those as a detail, probably in just straight black. And then Blood Red 09003, I can go ahead and do Rorsch's dynamite. I think the only color I can still do right now is Woodstain Brown 09160. Now, Mains and Rorsch's cigar. I personally don't condone smoking, but I don't usually bother people who do. Okay, that's it for Rorsch. Set aside. Oh wait, he's got a little beard. Almost forgot that. And Rorsch has his own little, or Brine has his own little goatee. And that nice big mohawk-like mane coming off his back, going along his spinal column. And of course the tip of his tail. Okay. I'm gonna have to let that dry at this point. Come back in a little bit. Okay, next round of shading. That's not it. There we go, 09196 aged pewter. Might be enough. There is a plate over his crotch here. It's just a little hard to see and get at, but it's there. Again, on shading, you want to go the highest area to lowest. I nicked his goatee there. And about half paint, half water. For paint selection, you want your shade to be a darker version of your base coat. And for your highlight, you want a lighter version of your base coat. I think that's the first time I've ever mentioned that. And I've got to be mindful of that. Maybe I just need to do a separate video on paint selection, materials and tool selection, I don't know. Being careful when going around the spikes on the pauldron here. At least I think I'm using the correct armor smithing term. Excuse me. We need to take another look at the concept art and see if I'm not misinterpreting what I think are, big pointy cheeks. Make sure those aren't actually supposed to be part of his helmet. Okay. So that takes care of Brine. Now for Rorsh. And these little plates here are something I made sure to pick out off camera since I forgot to hit them in the initial run. Okay. Oh, missed one important detail on Brine. That is that he has a cap on this tusk. I think I can go ahead and try to do the leather too. Let's give that a shot. 09109 Ruddy leather. Still getting over that bug, still a little out of breath, but I'm better. This just takes a steady hand. Lots of practice. Okay, there's Brine's leather. Just for Rorsh start loosely on his head. On this, it almost seems as if Rorsch's rifle is strapped to his arm. A little tricky to tell, though, but... Okay. It's got that. Now... Yeah, I better hold off before doing any more. Otherwise these colors might start blending in together in a way I don't want. Okay, that's had time to dry, so... 09001 red brick. There's not too terribly much of this. Just a little bit in Rorsch's mouth and on his loincloth there. Just make certain I'm in camera. Gotta watch myself on that. Now for Brine, get this on his loincloth. So that's going to leave the flesh tone and the tusks for Brine. For the meantime, though, I'm going to hit Rorsch's coat. 09034 Muddy Olive. It's kind of funny, but Rorsch's card mentions a cleaver. Melee. Whoa, almost knocked over my water. A melee weapon, but the physical model doesn't seem to have that. I'm just going to have to assume it's tucked somewhere inside his coat here. Again, still kind of getting over that bug. I think I said that twice already in this video. careful near the dynamite. I don't want to get the bright red muddied at all. Rorsh really, really likes dynamite. Okay, now that's got it. Let's see. Well, I guess I'm going to have to wait a bit before I move on to the tusks and the flesh. Okay. Stained Ivory 09142. Got 2 colors left to shade. Unfortunately, I cannot do them both at once because they do touch. I do not want these two to mix up, though you can get interesting effects if you let your colors blend. It's just not what I want to do on these two. I did double check the and some other, and what's what I'm looking for? Studio painted model in an older Minions Force book, and yikes! And these are supposed to be just really big, long cheekbones. So I'm gonna go with that. I would not be surprised if there are people out there who chose to interpret them as armor. They're part of the helmet, but again, personal choice, and some details can be interpreted by different people in a different way. So I'm gonna have to let that dry completely before I finish up by shading the skin. Okay. 09220 Olive Skin Shadow. And this is horrendously clogged. Well, okay. Maybe that did it, maybe it didn't. That did not. Where's my box of paper clips? There it is. Let's try a fresh one since it's a little gummy. Can't think of a better word right now. That's much better. Trying to avoid the goggles and his tusks. His little beard. Then just get that out of the goggle there. It's better. Now, trying not to nick the dynamite while I do this. Now for brine. There aren't as many other colors to get in the way of this. Let's start on his head. Go ahead and get his chest and stomach that's inside the suspenders. Go ahead and get his knuckle on his right before I get his left arm. It's kind of funny, but brine does appear to be a little top-heavy, with arms and fists that seem to be almost twice as big as his legs, which end in tiny little hooves. Little booger of paint there. Okay, that'll get a little more near the mane there. Now that's got it. So, anything else I can do? Yeah. Actually, I'll have to wait on that a bit because that paint pot's almost out, so come back in a bit and start the highlighting and detailing bits. Okay, time to start highlighting. So 09038 Rainy Gray. So in all the concept art here, and I generally prefer to stick to what's official for skin and hair tones, provided the art is consistent anyway. And Rorsh and Brine have kind of a grayish tint to their fur, and they are covered in fur. It's just not necessarily shown that well on the model itself. So this is also something of an experiment, so we'll see what happens. And it's just dawned on me I should have done the pupils on Rorsh first, so or Brine first. Let's just take a second to do that. Still kind of getting back in the swing of things after being sick. Uh-oh. I got a little too much water in it. Blot that out. And a dot of pure black, 09037. That's just going to go in the barrel of Rorsch's gun. Now, back to the highlighting. And doing this on all the fur, including the manes. Excuse me. Now for Rorsch. Blood Red 09003. Zero 9144 Creamy Ivory. Burnt Orange 09111. And that's plugged up. That's what the paper clip's for. Pale Olive 09036. 09198 Tarnished brass. Whoa! Just cold cocked my camera there. Okay. You want this to look just kind of burnished, just kind of shiny. Okay. Make sure I'm in camera. Might not be exactly where it was before since I accidentally punched it. There's 2 highlights left to do. True Silver 09207. And again, I'm going to be more concerned with the readily visible surfaces and the stuff underneath. brushes. Just a little bit of shine in Rorsch's goggles. Take that pure black. Get Brine's pupils deep up in his eyes. And Phoenix Red 09005. That does not mix thoroughly. Better. So just going on Rorsch's favorite toy. Taking pure black again, that's 09037. Just to need a little bit more. The threading on this particular bottle is kind of funny, so it's a little tricky to close. It's just a production defect and one that doesn't really affect much. Just going to carefully pick out fuses. At least where they're visible, anyway. One more highlight I almost forgot about. That's Driftwood Brown 09162. Just a little dot because, well, I use this triad on the mains. The only color that gets this highlight is Rorsch's cigar. And then Fire Orange 09006. Just need a little bit because there's two details that need to be knocked out. And that with just a thin brush. Two details are the end of the fuse of Rorsch's lit stick of dynamite in his hand, and just the tip of his cigar. Right. I guess all the highlights and details now for the basing. 09035 olive green. Hopefully that's enough. Get the arc started. As typical, I'm going to overextend, and this is a color I chose at random for the faction. And this is dark enough I won't have to do the arc in white first and then fill in the color. It should be good. Now for Brine. Hopefully next time I do a video I'm not sounding like something out of a horror movie. Okay, once that's dry I can backfill and start flocking. Okay, time to finish up. So I'll need that glue in a little bit, taking pure black again, 09037. rough couple of days. So carefully, so carefully centering on this marked cutting mat. Getting the front arc tidied up. And now for Brine. And him facing straight at what his opponent would end up being. Mat. Just rub that excess paint off real quick. And switching to a wider brush to finish up. There's no need to mark these since they're both characters. Once that's dry, I can flock it, seal it, and call it good. Okay, last step. Or, well, second to last. And my bottle of glue is clogged, apparently. Quite horribly, it seems. So, white glue. Eep. Plenty of water. And a sacrificial brush. Might help if I put the light on. Worn out. Strung out. The damp day job again. Just painting this glue solution around the feet of the model like always. Dip in the flock. Then use a dry brush to dust off the areas I don't want the flock on. That'll need to set for a bit before I seal it, and we'll do the same thing to brine. In fact, this might be a good model to demonstrate how to do some static grass, actually. I'll think about that while I get this part finished up. I'd have to do this anyway in either case. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and move on a bit. Alright, last step. Scenic cement. And again, this is just a spray or brush on adhesive. Glass eyedropper. Putting it in the wrong substance. You can tell it's first thing in the morning when this is going on. Just carefully drip that in now. This will soak up the material will soak up the cement pretty quickly, but if you don't give it a chance to cure a little bit first, it will just push it around instead of soaking it up, or push it around instead of sealing it. The day has barely begun and I'm already slaughtering the English language. You just need enough to make sure the base gets kind of moist again, and that's it. Always thoroughly clean out your tools when you're done. They'll last longer overall. And that's it. Rorsh and Brine from the Minions faction of Hordes. Got 2 more additions to my Bacon Brigade next. Until next time, I'm Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.